I don't know what you think, but I'm about to tell you what I think about some of the things that are going on in this universe that we live in. My name is Phil, and you are listening to The Lip. Here we go. Today's episode, as I recorded on November 9th, 2024, is going to be released on November 16th, 2024. It'll be episode 182 of The Lip, now featuring on YouTube. I don't know, shaking my head because I don't really know what to think about some of these people who are out there. But I do know that certain situations do require a little bit of thought, sometimes deep thought, that is not actually executed before deciding what you really want to do in a situation. And I think that truthfully, if people did take a few minutes to stop and think, maybe, just maybe, some of these things that I've noticed would certainly be different. But of course, at the same time, some of these things will never, ever change, particularly one that kind of really aggravates me. But I want to know what you think as I tell you what I think about it. In the meantime, I will tell you that the artwork that you're looking at right now is a continuation from last episode's artwork, observation number 3, episode 181, came out on November 9th, 2024. Check it out if you haven't already. This piece of art is part of a series of works that I call the Shape Series. Last week I had featured Death Triangle. This one happens to be titled Circle Left. Needless to say, I created a series of circles, and pretty much all of them are facing and going towards the left. It's really just that self-explanatory. But I use a couple different things in order to create this piece of art. I mean, a Nerf dart for one, a couple glasses, and my favorite thing that I used to create this piece of art. I don't know how many of you are old enough to have played with it, but it's one of my favorite toys, and I still have them here in my office. A barrel of monkeys. I actually used the actual barrel to create some of the mid-sized circles. It's really kind of one of my favorite things. It's neat. You might be able to find some of them things at Walmart or Target every once in a while, but I used to play with them when I was a kid. A couple different colors. The ones I always liked the best were the red ones. What can I tell you? But I used all those things, including a frisbee, to create circle left. Enough of that. I'm probably going to need a little more of my time today to focus on what do you think is main event. So, without further ado, I'm going to skip ahead to fill in the blanks so I can get to the main event a little bit faster. Now, to fill in the blank today is going to be a very simple question, but it has a very simple answer as well as most of my fill in the blanks do. The question: what is the absolute worst thing about fall? The blank space can be filled with leaves covering your yard. Got about 10,000 square feet of yard, and 1, 2, 3, 4 giant trees that all drop leaves. Not a single one of these trees is a evergreen. No, they all have big, beautiful leaves that come out in the spring and make everything look all pretty. But come the fall, it's worse than like a tsunami of just, it's insane how many leaves come from these trees. Now, when we first moved into this house, there were five of these giant trees. We cut down one, and now there are four. Simple math, right? But my lord, just trying to get the leaves the first year of living here was just insane. Turned out that I ended up using 24 55-gallon industrial sized trash bags to pick up the leaves in the front yard. And the crazy part about it is that was only half of the leaves. Now you see, if these trees actually did in fact have money growing on them, and every fall all of the money fell off the trees, I'd be good. But unfortunately, no, it's just leaves. So once again, the fill in the blanks question was, what is the worst thing about fall? The blank is filled in with the leaves. Okay, now that we've gotten that little bit of business out of the way, we're going to go handle the big part of the business, which is the main event. The bell is ringing. And a simple question: what do you think? Now, I've observed, like to go back to that episode, some very odd behavior from various people. And I'm going to get into some of these. And I think that, where am I going to start? I think I'm going to start with the one that is, well, we'll go, are we going to go from the recent past to the distant past? Because I got one up here that probably well over 30 years old, but I still do want to know what you think about it. I can tell you what I think about it. I think I'll go with, yeah, we'll start with modern times, and we'll work our way back to the past. But I think that past one, if nothing else, will put a smile on your face. So we'll start with the most recent one. I go to the gas station at the Wawa, not too far away from the house, and I find a Asian. No, she wasn't Asian. No, she was Asian. Yes, she was an Asian lady, I believe, and she was trying to figure out what was going on with her gas. She couldn't pump it, and she didn't speak any English. And she came over to me, who had just finished pumping my gas, and she had the cool little translator on her phone. So she spoke in her language, and then I was able to read what she was asking, and she was asking for help trying to pump her gas. And then I told her, yeah, I'll help her out. I tried. She had her card inside the MPD, multiple product dispenser, inside baseball with that, if you don't know, as far as pumping gas. And I tried. Everything was set up right. I picked the product she wanted as regular. Card was in. Pump was in her tank. And nothing. I looked at it a little bit further because I was somebody who actually had a high level of, how can I put it? When working at Wawa, there were levels to this thing, of course. There was a basic level of gas management. If you lived in New Jersey, of course, you couldn't pump your own gas, so the gas attendants had to have gas levels 1 or 2 in order to be able to handle the situations that were going on with the gas pump. As management, I was up to gas level 3, knowing how to handle emergencies that can occur during a dangerous situation at the gas pump. Also, I had a little bit of knowledge on how to handle the actual gas pumps themselves, or the multiple product dispensers. Turns out that in this state of Pennsylvania, where, and I guess 48 other states across the United States, there are no gas attendants, just either somebody inside of a room in a gas station, or you have to deal with a person who works inside of a Wawa. Now, there is a manager who actually runs the fuel court in these states. Well, obviously, fuel court manager. That person is responsible for making sure that the gas is actually pumping the amount that it's supposed to per the price per gallon. They make sure that all the gas pumps are up to um, standards that you need to have it at. But this is my question of what do you think? Now, if this was in New Jersey, where there is a gas attendant who will pump your gas, there is a simple series of events that would happen that would not have happened here in Pennsylvania. For one, the lady who asked me for help would not have asked me for help because she would have been inside of her car and the gas attendant would have been pumping her gas. Another thing that would have happened that would not have happened in New Jersey that did happen here is she was able to pull up to that gas pump that had the problem. Now, in New Jersey, if there was a problem with the gas pump, the attendant would have closed off that area and nobody would have gone there. Either the store manager or the owner would have done what they had to do in order to fix the problem at the gas pump, but nobody would have been able to drive up to it and have any issue. It would not have been a problem. So, what do you think? I honestly believe that if there was, in fact, gas attendants in the state of Pennsylvania and statewide, little snafus like this lady who could have gone to the pump right next to it, didn't have to stress herself out with trying to figure out what was wrong with the gas pump. None of that would have happened. The gas attendant would have been able to just say, "Here you go, $50, gotcha. Click. Thank you very much. Over. Next car." Would have been just that simple. That whole little interaction that I had with this lady would never have taken place. Her stress level would have been lower than you could imagine. And she actually didn't get any result from me because I was not privy to what was going on with the gas pump. And since I'm almost 20 years past my management time at Wawa, I don't have any idea what would be going on because, needless to say, most of my managerial knowledge as far as the workings in and out of the Wawa are pretty much gone. I mean, it's like a muscle, man. If you use that muscle, you will get stronger. But I have not used my Wawa skills in so many years that the muscles that I had built up in order to know exactly what to do there, they have completely atrophied. Talking about my bicep too, I mean that thing is getting pretty ugly, but it's getting better. Got off topic just a little bit, but to make a long story short, I still don't understand why we don't have the regulations like they do in New Jersey. Granted, it doesn't have to be illegal, but my lord, you're talking about another whole set of jobs that you could open up if there were actually people pumping your gas. And all the nonsense of, oh, the gas is more expensive when somebody's pumping it. Really? If that were the case, then why is New Jersey usually like 10 to 15 cents cheaper per gallon when they have two, three people pumping gas? Really? That's the stupidest excuse I've ever heard. And it doesn't make any sense because that's simply not the case. Have to calm down just a little bit because, my goodness, I didn't take my blood pressure medication yet. And I'm already starting to talk about things like why we don't have gas attendants in Pennsylvania. Just bizarre. Okay, moving to the next question that I have for you. What do you think? Sitting at breakfast at IHOP with my mom and just eating pancakes like I always like to do. The guy gets seated, very rude, and don't get me wrong. I can understand if you're having a difficult time with being seated. I'm not necessarily happiest person in the world. If you get a bad waiter or waitress, I usually am not the happiest person in the world. But this guy had been seated relatively quickly, and he sat down and he was just complaining about everything in his life. And turns out the waitress comes over to him and he places his order. And the order that he placed is truthfully above and beyond ridiculous. And he essentially plays Bugs Bunny waiting for a package from Acme as he stands next to the mailbox, stamping his feet impatiently, waiting for the package to come that he literally just ordered seconds ago. And of course, the impatient waiting usually brings the package car to him and he gives whatever he ordered. Now, this gentleman, and I use this term very, very loosely, is horribly impatient waiting for what he ordered. And he just complaining about not getting his order. Now, when I tell you what he ordered, I can understand why you might be in a little bit of a rush to get that item. But when I tell you what he ordered, it really doesn't make any sense that he actually ordered it. And why he was upset that it took so long for that order to show up. The whole thing is completely ridiculous to me. That's what I think. So, what do you think? I'm going to tell you what he ordered. This guy, this guy found his way out of his bed, put his shoes on, put his clothes on, took a shower, I guess. Didn't really smell, wasn't that close enough. Got into his car, got on a bus, or walked down the road. Went into this IHOP, waited to get seated, got in the booth, and ordered these three things: a cup of coffee with 2 creamers, an order of toast, white toast, 2 pieces of white toast, and grape jelly. Let that sink in. 2 pieces of white toast, a cup of coffee with 2 creams, and grape jelly for the toast. Grape jelly. Now, I'm not gonna complain when it comes to specialty items that you have to get at certain places. For example, you're not gonna get that really cool seasoning that comes at Red Robin unless you go to Red Robin and take the packets with you or steal an entire container, which I've been tempted to do. Haven't done it yet. Yet. But IHOP does have this mixed fruit jelly that you can't get anywhere. It just nowhere. Only place you can get it is at IHOP. Little containers of mixed fruit jelly. And I understand if his sole purpose in life, because I know my mother and some of my other relatives love that mixed fruit jelly, and when they go to an IHOP, they just pocket every one they can, and they use whatever's left. So I could understand if he went there to get that jelly specifically for his toast, because you can't get it anywhere. They don't sell that jelly. The IHOP mixed fruit jelly just does. You can't get it. So if that's what he came for, I can understand why he got out of bed and went there, because it's an exclusive item that you just can't get anywhere. As a collector, I get it. I do. But as a normal human being who has common sense and knows that you can get pounds of coffee or even a Keurig and pay $12 and get 12 cups of coffee, pay $20 to get like 60 cups of coffee, and the creamer, dry or wet's going to cost you maybe $5, and you got it for a month. There's no issues, right? Loaf of bread, although it's a little more expensive than it was a couple years ago, yada yada yada, whatever, right? It's still going to cost you about $3. So what are we up to now in total? Probably about $30, and then the jelly, plain grape jelly that you can get at virtually every store. Maybe that costs you $3. So let's say round up. Let's say all of that stuff costs you 35 to $40. And I'm being liberal. Just one loaf of bread, one of the big Keurig cups, we said maybe like $25. The jelly about another $3, and the creamer is like 5. So let's say it's $40. Then you go and buy a $10 toaster that only toasts two pieces of bread at a time because that's all you want is two. That's all you need. It's all you want. Just two slices of toast. And to give you an idea, uh, I've actually purchased the cup that you can get from IHOP. That was only $4. So you add that to it, it still makes it around $40 if you even really want the IHOP cup specifically. You can buy them, they'll sell them to you, and they're like $4. So the whole thing will cost you about $40, right? Top to bottom. Include the toaster. We'll even say it's $50 because of the toaster. $10 toaster. All right. Two pieces of toast every day. The stuff's gonna the bread doesn't expire for 3 weeks, 3 weeks, let's say, and you eat two a day. That's gonna take you until it expires, about 3 weeks worth, give or take. And like I said, you can get 60 cups of coffee. He only had one, so that's gonna last you 2 months. And the jelly for two pieces of toast. You get a big enough jar for $3. I mean, that'll last you at least as long as the bread will. So we're talking the creamer. You only put a little bit in there at a time, wet or dry, doesn't matter which one. Check the expiration date. If it's wet, it's going to last a little longer than dry will. Well, it'll go out. It won't last as long as it's dry. So you'll still probably get about 3 weeks out of it. So let's say you can get 3 weeks worth of the two slices of toast with grape jelly and the cup of coffee with two creamers. You get good 3 weeks out of that minimum, and you have leftovers for the other stuff. You might have to get another loaf of bread. You can do all of that at your house and save yourself the trouble, and more importantly, save the waiters and waitresses your nightmare of being there, because apparently you don't want to deal with them, and you make them not want to deal with you, which makes sense. Why don't you just stay home and spend the $50 and you're good for a couple months? And the toaster's going to last you years. What do you think? I think this guy's an idiot. I'm sorry. Point blank, an idiot. And if you really even want to make it even more special, if you get the Keurig, let's even put that in there. So we'll call it $100. You can get the 3 cup Keurig for $50. So now we're talking $100, and this stuff is going to last you for months. And the Keurig, the toaster, those will last you for years. And the cost is virtually pennies, and you never even have to leave your house, and nobody has to be bothered with you. I don't understand. What do you think? I think this guy's an idiot, point blank. Just buy the stuff, stay home. You're not looking at any of these things that are over the top. And truthfully, if you're obsessed with the IHOP coffee, they make the IHOP coffee in K cups, so you don't even need to question whether or not you're getting the same coffee. It's the same coffee. My goodness. I don't know. Maybe I should have almost renamed this episode from "What are you thinking?" to "What are we doing again?" I don't know. Some crazy stuff. But it only gets better. We're going to move on to the next part. And this one is something that I consider a a hot button topic for me. It's a garbage men, and usually I would just lump them all into one place, but I had an issue with garbage men from Overbrook to where I'm at now in Somerton, in Philadelphia. It's just insane. Like, it's insane. First of all, we're going to start with they pretty much use my house as their meeting spot because it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. I can just say that there's a Wawa very nearby, and it's a good spot for them to meet up. And a couple times, some of the guys will drive up and park around my house and get on the truck from there and do their work and come back around. So, knowing that is what it's like around the house right now. They can go to Wawa, get their stuff before, middle, and after work, which of course they do. And it certainly makes me wonder just about how much work that these ones do in my particular house right now. Now, when I was off in the Overbrook section of Philadelphia, I can tell you that I had just as much nightmare with the trash man over there. Turns out that in the days long, long ago when you actually had landlines for phones, these garbage men over in that area would drive their truck in the back alley in order to pick up my trash. And probably over the 9 years that I lived in that area, in that house, before we decided to cut the cord of the landline to the phone and the cable and all that stuff, wouldn't you know those guys just snapped the wire for the landline phone at least 7 times? At least 7 times? And that's being liberal because there were plenty of times when they probably did it and we didn't know it. But the phone company came out because somebody else on the block complained about the phone wire being snapped. So, for one, my favorite part was one day when I saw them out back from my daughter's window, which overlooked the alley where the garbage was picked up. I saw them and I waited and I watched what happened, and the truck comes by, and next thing you know, snap! Oh, there goes the phone line. The the guy on the outside who's actually putting the trash, the one who's doing the real hard work, throwing the trash in the back of the truck, goes to the driver and says, "What do we do? The line just snapped." Driver said, "They'll call somebody." Dude just showed up. Okay, we're good. Jumped in, kept on going. Didn't knock on the door, just kept on rolling. Didn't acknowledge that they just destroyed the phone line and just kept on moving. What if it was a power line that they didn't know about? But of course, my uncle was a high executive in an electric company, and I know that the power line is the very highest one. But maybe they didn't know that, and that's a live wire that's on the ground, gonna kill somebody. They don't have any clue. They didn't bother to acknowledge it in any way. But that's okay. That's just one part. Another thing, when I was over in Overbrook area, I had 4 trash cans that I locked up and unlocked when I was getting ready to put them out. One day, again, as I'm making the mistake of watching these guys do what they do or what they don't do, I noticed that the guy had decided to just pick up my trash can, throw it in the back of the truck. It must have been too heavy for him, and just Kept on going. Took my trash can, garbage and all, just gone. And then there were three. And then about 3 or 4 months later, it happened again. And I was down to two. So they literally took two trash cans from me and just put them in the trash and just kept on going. Fast forward to where I'm at now in the house. Can't really call it new. Been here 4 years now. But of course, the garbage men are different, and their activities are the same. Turns out that probably, I don't know, February 24, I had three trash cans at the new house. And the garbage men took it upon themselves to say, hey, you have one that's pretty broken, and you have two that are in pretty decent shape. We're going to take this one that's in pretty decent shape, and we're going to toss it in the back of our truck, and we're going to keep on going. Leaving me with the one that's broken, which, of course, if they took that one, I might have been a little less upset because it was broken anyway. But no, they took my good one. In fact, they took the best one I had. So now I have a real beat up one that doesn't even have a handle, and I have one that's handle's about to fall off. And they took the best one I had. So to make a long story short, the garbage men have taken three trash cans from me over the period of 10 years, and I actually called one time to complain about all these things these garbage men have done. And the result was, oh, we'll send you a credit for a trash can, which never happened. So I may take it upon myself to, I guess you could say, catch them in the act. Because, like I said at the beginning, talking about the garbage men, they like to park right around my house and then they go and they hang out at Wawa a lot, excessively a lot. Like they'll sit there for more than what would be a reasonable lunch hour. And like I said, the first thing they do is park right on the side of my house. And they do that around 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. And they get assemble themselves essentially before they go off to doing nothing. Why is it then, if they're literally right in front of my house, that they can't take my trash right then? Be over with. Be done. No. Mm-mm. Leave mine until about 3 o'clock. And it's right there. I don't understand it. Why don't they just take it and go? Because if they did that, maybe I wouldn't be so upset with the fact that they hang out so much because, well, at least they got mine. But no, they didn't. So I'm going to take the opportunity to maybe record them for a while they're doing nothing at Wawa for an extended period of time, and maybe just sort of send that to their bosses because apparently over this summer they had a massive change in attitude for about 6 weeks because wouldn't you know that a city vehicle was there talking to the garbage men, and the garbage men were sort of not happy that this individual was here because it was a management for the streets department who is supposed to be in charge of these particular garbage men and their route. And wouldn't you know that that day they picked up my trash at around 8 o'clock when the manager guy was still there, who sort of maintained his vehicle over at the side near my house, and he rode along with the guys who were picking up the trash. And wouldn't you know, they were very efficient that day. And for a week or 2 weeks after that, over a 6 week period of time, they were getting my trash at 8 o'clock. Then it started staggering down as the time had passed since the manager was there. They started picking up my trash around 10 o'clock. Still supremely much earlier than before. And then after that 6 week period of time, apparently that manager had probably told them that I'm going to be monitoring you for a month. You don't know where I'm going to be or when I'm going to show up. So they started doing things a little bit more reasonably. Apparently that time had ended and they're right back to what they're doing, picking up my garbage sometime around 3 o'clock. And that's just amazing what a manager will do. So, what do you think? Are these guys just as lazy as it seems? And maybe, just maybe, should I call them on it with a video? Hmm, it's really becoming a good idea in my mind. What do you think? Finally, I got one more good one for you. And this one is probably overly excessive and overly stupid. And if you were to think about it now, it really is probably the dumbest thing that has ever been. Now, I graduated high school in 1996, meaning 4 years earlier. I was in eighth grade, 92. Long, long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, especially for some of you people. And in eighth grade, it seems like there was good administration at my middle school, Southern Regional Middle School, before moving on to Southern Regional High School. These people seemed like they knew what they were doing. There was a strong principal and a good vice principal who just had everything under control. And they made sure that all the students lived in fear. I mean, they made sure that all the administration lived in fear. I'm sorry. They made sure that the school ran in an efficient and effective manner in order to make all of us better people, both staff and students. We'll go with that one. And what they did was so remarkable, and it was such a wonderful gesture that it created a scenario of you couldn't write this in a movie, what they did. You couldn't. Because if you did, people would absolutely buy tickets for it because it was such a stupid idea. Why in the world would you take a building that is full of seventh, eighth graders, and because Southern Regional at the time was very unique to the fact that they had the ninth graders actually at the middle school. So what we're talking about is having a tremendous amount of children. Probably my middle school had each class about 400 kids. So let's estimate 1,200 students between the ages of, let's see, seventh graders can be around as young as, I guess, let's call it 12, 13, eighth graders, 13, 14, ninth graders, 14, 15. So between 12 and 15-year-old students. Yeah. So we're talking 1,200, 12 to 15-year-old students in one building all at the same time. And some genius, I mean, some wise administrator thought that it would be a great idea to give all the children in that age range, these lower teens, adolescent children, for Christmas before the break, every student was given a 1 foot long, inch thick candy cane. Just a masterpiece of intelligence. Couldn't ask for smarter things. And you gave the children a half day. So a half day and a 1 foot long, inch thick candy cane for every 7th, 8th, and 9th grade student in Southern Regional Middle School in 1992. My 8th grade year. Meaning there were kids above me and kids below me, but all between 12 and 15. Okay, we're going to pretend that's a good idea for just a second because we're going to say, hey, all these children enjoy this candy. Start your Christmas break off real good. Okay, that's just the stupidest thing. And the worst part about it is some of the administration, who are such geniuses at the time, had children in the school. And they knew, or at least you would hope they knew, that this was going to go bad quick. Especially since I know of at least 8 teachers who actually started their vacation a little early, took some time, got sick, I don't know. And one of those teachers happened to be in my 8th grade class, English. So, of course, the responsible and knowledgeable children of the school did everything they could to make this day efficient, effective, and otherwise safe and healthy for everybody. And they took a piece of their candy and they just ate it. And no, no. Obviously, what you did was gave a foot long, inch thick projectile made of sugar to be used as weapons. Of course, probably a fourth of those candy canes were ingested so that the kids are all sugared up, but the other 3/4 were used as projectiles throughout the entire school. There was a massive battle raging in virtually every single classroom. And because it was a half day, there were only 4 classes, and they extended the periods so that instead of the normal 40 minutes, it ended up being about an hour and a half for each class. And my lord, there was candy flying everywhere. You had to duck and dodge, just hope you didn't get hit in the eye. And it was just an absolute melee of just carnage. People getting hit in the face and the back of the head, candy everywhere. Now, if I was a custodian at the school, I would have been livid. I would have been asking for a raise. Just, I would have maybe even gone on strike that week. I would have been so upset because the amount of candy that was all over the school, everywhere, because you couldn't take a step without stepping on a piece of peppermint stick that was on the ground. It was everywhere. And I know from my personal experience, I had to duck and dodge and weave in my 8th grade English class because there was candy everywhere flying. And of course, many of my other friends said the same thing in all of their other classes. There was battles everywhere. And when I can only describe to you that you could find candy cane everywhere, I mean everywhere. Like the whole building was just pieces of candy everywhere. And some of it was wet, so you could smell the peppermint permeating through the school. It was wild. But the administration was wise and thought that that was a great idea. Let all these 12 to 15-year-olds have candy and just weapons. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think that was a good idea? I mean, at the very least, I wish I was even in a shop class, so at least I could have my safety glasses on, so maybe I could have protected my eyes just in case something came around. Because that was a period of time I wasn't wearing glasses, and my lord, it would have been something to. I don't understand how I didn't get hit in the eye, or how many other people didn't get hit in the eye, and I'm serious about that. Maybe this is old man Phil talking, not uh, 12-year-old, 13-year-old Phil speaking, but my goodness, I don't understand how many people did not lose eyes because these broken pieces of candy cane were not cylindrical and smooth. They were jagged. I mean, they were horrible. It was bad. And everybody knows that those kind of candy canes, it's like glass. Man, it was just a terrible idea for the administration. I would imagine that somebody got reprimanded for it, if not fired over it, because it was really, really, really dangerous and really, really, really stupid. And once again, I ask you, what do you think? I absolutely think that this episode is coming to a close on that. And my goodness, I can only say that I would greatly appreciate it if you commented on this episode for certain. What do you think about some of these instances? A guy ordering toast when he could have bought it himself at home. No, nothing special about it. A lady who had an issue with a gas pump, but it wouldn't have been an issue if there was somebody who was there to pump the gas. Um, Garbage men who threw away trash cans and just overall just acted very, very lazily. And last but not least, the candy war of '92. All of these things were just horrible, and each and every one of them could potentially have been avoided. What do you think? On that note, I'm going to ring the bell and talk a little bit of football. Just a little bit of football. Right now, I've already surpassed week 9, and that's what I'm going to talk about. Turns out that I did not do as well as I would have liked to. I ended up with 2 wins and 3 losses in week 9. And the wins were very shocking to me personally, but not really. I kind of figured it, but the losses, they were devastating to me. I picked the Texans to beat. No, I picked the Jets to beat the Texans, and that was a big time fail. Texans did in fact fall to the Jets. It's incredible. San Diego Chargers over the Browns. I figured maybe give the Browns one, right? Nah. Coach Harbaugh said, nah, none of that nonsense. I picked the Browns 17-14. Coach Harbaugh said, nah, 27-10. We're eating them alive. Um, then the Patriots and the Titans, I had that score reversed. I thought that maybe the Patriots would be able to win 20-17 when the exact opposite happened. The Titans somehow won 20-17. Don't know what happened. Crazy. But the ones that made perfect sense and were really gimmies, Ravens over the Broncos is what I picked, and the Ravens just destroyed the Broncos 41-10. And then, of course, my sleeper pick team that I'm thinking I'm really paying attention to them, the Washington Commanders versus the Giants. I had the Commanders winning 28-13. They actually won 27-22, pushing my record still above water, 27 and 18. 27 wins, 18 losses for me on the season. Now, I'm going to talk to you about week 10. Week 10 has already begun, and I've already started behind the 8 ball. I lost Bengals versus the Ravens. I thought maybe the Bengals could pull it off. No, they they bungled the game. 34-35. Week 10, Ravens defeated the Bengals. Now, the game that I can't wait more than any other one, of course, my 49ers, I'm starting there. Yeah, they've come back. They're getting healthy. And last time they came back and got healthy when they were down like this, they ended up in the NFC Championship game. So don't count them out yet. Tampa Bay, expect to lose. 49ers 35, Tampa Bay 24. Texans, who disappointed me. Lions, who are for real. I think it's going to take the 49ers again to take them out in the NFC Championship, if anybody can. A full strength 49ers is about the only thing that could maybe do it. So I think Texans are going to lose. You know, a little bit of a leaky defense, Lions. I'm calling it 42-28. Yeah, 42-28, Detroit. Commanders, Steelers. I have no faith in Russell Wilson. I have complete faith in Jaden Daniels. Commanders 21, Steelers 16. The loser bowl, and I do mean the loser bowl. One of these two teams is going to get the first pick in the NFL draft, and I'm sure of it. If, of course, the Panthers weren't stupid enough to trade it away, which they may have been because they've been doing nothing but making bad decisions in the last 4 or 5 years or so. Thank you for Christian McCaffrey, Carolina. We really appreciate it. Helped us get to the NFC Championship game and the Super Bowl. Thanks a lot. I expect the Giants to barely beat this horrible team because they're that bad themselves. I'm looking at 14-3. Panthers are going to lose, and they're going to win the number one pick in the draft. That's what I'm seeing in Week 10. I already picked the Bengals to beat the Ravens, and that was a fail. So hopefully I can catch up and get these 4 wins to sort of tighten up my record a little bit. Okay. Spear of the Week time. Spear of the Week. The only thing that I could possibly consider to spear this week would have to be the garbage man because that's just been on my mind and it's driving me nuts because the other day I sat there and watched them yuck it up at Wawa again. And my garbage cans were still sitting there full. And don't get me wrong, everybody's entitled to a lunch, but does a lunch have to be 3 hours? Does it? I mean, at the city wages, 3 hours for lunch, it just doesn't seem right. So, spear of the week, garbage men, no doubt. Now it's time to shut down this show. I don't really want to, but at the same time, I know I need to in order to take my medication so I don't have a stroke thinking about these crazy people that I was talking about. I hope you enjoyed episode 182. What do you think? You heard what I think. I'd like to know what you think about this. Let me know on the YouTube channel that I hope you like and subscribe at Phil the Lip. Leave a comment. Also, I'd like to have you guys check out the Lip Facebook page. Join us. There's always room for one more, and that's a great place to leave comments too. Go ahead, do so. Post something. Want to see what you're thinking. Philip Henderson 5102 is where you can find me on Instagram. Always got a reel on there for something. And I'm out there on X somewhere. Find me. Now it's time to go with some words of wisdom. And these words of wisdom are coming to you straight from the heart. No pre-written words of wisdom today. And these words of wisdom are, think about what you're doing before you do it. It's just that simple. Based on this episode, really, so many things that are so simple that could have had easy fixes, but if we just thought about for just a second what we're doing before we do it, maybe, just maybe, a show like this wouldn't exist. But of course, that would certainly take away from my enjoyment and entertainment of creating a show like this. So use those words of wisdom with a grain of salt. On that note, my name is Phil, and you've just listened to The Lip.